Hey guys, this is my friend Perry.
What's up, guys?
We just watched Killing of a Sacred Deer on Amazon Prime, and this was a super duper intense movie. So this movie is about a surgeon and a 16-year-old boy that comes into his life. The doctor has a family of his own, a beautiful wife, 2 kids, but he has this strange relationship with this boy where he's taking care of him or being this father figure, and the boy clearly wants something from him. And as the movie goes on, we find out that the doctor is responsible or was the boy's father's doctor. There were complications, and thus begins a very, very strange and slow revenge tale that is definitely not what you expect. Perry, what did you think of this film?
That was great, man. The movie's incredibly tense. There's zero comic relief throughout the whole movie. The style of the movie was really interesting because it feels like the story's being sort of told to us in this very straightforward way. Like, the characters don't talk very conventionally. They speak to each other in very like mechanical ways. All around, really, really unique movie.
The dialogue was super duper weird, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
They talked like if you had written this in screenwriting school, or if you turned this in, it would have probably immediately gotten thrown out. They say what they're thinking, they say what they're doing. It's almost like a Wes Anderson film, but without the fun and like the comedy. It's like, hello, how are you doing today? I brought you these flowers because I thought that you might enjoy them. And then the other character's like, oh, thank you very much for these flowers. I'm sure I will enjoy them. And you've never seen that in the context of a thriller or horror movie. But you know that this movie is different because the shots are just framed so well. There's so much patience, and the set design is amazing. So you have these super, super well-constructed shots and this stilted dialogue. And then that contrast is just, it makes you feel uneasy. And you also know that, okay, this is probably going somewhere. It's not just bad dialogue. It doesn't explain very much. It's super minimal. Right? So I know when we were talking about it, you were wondering, man, they better not just end this with no explanation, but they kind of just ended it with no explanation. So I guess in your own words, what do you think was happening?
As much as I would like to know what really happened or what was really going on or why, what was happening in the family, what's happening and how, it doesn't really matter in the end, because the story is really about the characters reacting to this situation. The whole thing just felt really alien because like the characters are acting in ways that I thought normal human beings perhaps wouldn't act. You know, the protagonists and the antagonists. I would think an event like this might bring a family together, but it did the opposite to them. You know, I thought that like facing like a common tragedy or something that like the family might
a common threat that
that would band together or something, but the whole like the weird relationships that they had with each other, and the other characters in the film sort of like slowly ate away at each character, you know, until the inevitable end seemed to happen, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, and you really when the end happens, like you really feel like, man, this is the only option they have. You know, which is like
for sure.
like really really brutal.
I think that's a sign of good storytelling, because if you can think of oh, why didn't they do this or why didn't they do that, then I don't want to say plot holes, that's not the right word, but that's just not as satisfying if they're forced in these impossible corners and made to make impossible choices. And at the heart of the story is an impossible choice. Can you, spoiler alert, are you willing to kill one of your family members in order to save the rest of your family? Objectively, that's an easy choice. The trolley problem, kill one to save all. But when it comes down to it, if you're in the thick of it, you have to face somebody you love and kill them in order to save everybody else. That's incredibly hard. And I definitely can empathize with our protagonist of, he doesn't want to make this decision, and he is by no means a perfect father. He's a little bit abusive. He's kind of a dick. And the mother is maybe even eviler, because there's that scene where she tells the father that we can have another child, giving him permission to kill one of their kids. And that was like, whoa, this movie is even darker than I thought it was. But it was also really satisfying to see that, because that was just kind of getting you ready for what was to come, that they are willing to make the sacrifices required.
Yeah, every character just seemed like really kind of calculating the whole time. It was kind of difficult to empathize with each individual character, although at some point you inevitably do, given the situation. Given the lack of emotion sometimes, like, you can't help but sort of dislike almost every character, at least for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Since they all seem to be reacting in this kind of like alien sort of manner.
I mean, even the kids, they're super weird. It's like
Yeah. There's like very little like emotion in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is weird because most movies these days are made to elicit emotions out of you.
Yeah.
Through the characters, and that didn't happen in this movie. But maybe it happened, but like not in the normal way that we're used to.
What a strange movie that was very well done. Let's talk about the ending. So, in the end, the father, all three people, his wife, his two kids are all blindfolded in restraints, and he's running around in a circle and he's shooting just randomly. He's randomly trying to kill one of the people because he can't make the choice. It's that hard. And he ends up shooting his son.
Which is weird to me because like that seemed to be like the last person that the father would have chosen. Fathers seem to have a preference for their firstborn son. The daughter was somehow involved with the villain of the movie somehow.
Yeah, you're right.
And the wife was being sort of like seemingly selfish at times, and like wanted, like at a certain point seemed like she wanted to save herself and kill one of the kids. She didn't seem like the prototypical loving mother at times. She didn't want to sacrifice herself for the kids or the family.
Yeah, you just reminded me of the scene right before that. She got naked and was like on top of him, as if to like
to show her value.
You show her value, yeah. So that's even more fucked up. So she was definitely wanting to save herself. But that means actually, as fucked up, as many messed up things as the father did, he still didn't give in to her because he still strapped her up.
Right.
So man, now that I think about it, that's really good character writing. Like it's so nuanced. Like he was still standing on the moral high ground, even though that's not a high ground you want to be on, but I think he did the best he could given the situation. He didn't give in to the mother. He didn't give in to the daughter, even begging to die. He still didn't think it was right. Given all the factors, his son was the person he wanted to keep the most, yet he ended up killing him. And, you know, maybe that alludes to the title, the sacred deer. It's such an innocent creature that he ends up killing. He was even asking the principal or the teacher, which one do you like more?
Or which ones have gotten into more trouble.
Which one has gotten into more trouble.
Basically, which one deserves to die more.
Exactly.
And I thought it was like really brutal how I feel like they did kill the sacred deer because the youngest son seemed the most innocent to me. He never really got involved in any kind of conflict. He was never really at the center of any kind of argument or struggle. In the end, he wanted to make his dad happy by cutting his hair. The daughter was getting into arguments with the mother and like helping the villain in the movie, and at times being selfish. But the kid really was innocent the whole time.
The kid was also mistreated the most by his father. The kid probably fell down like 100 times, and half of them was his dad just picking him up and letting him fall. He even flopped out of bed. In hindsight, those were actually really funny moments. But yeah, in hindsight, it's super sad. What do you think about this film, I guess, not explaining at all the mechanism in which this 16-year-old boy is causing these things to happen to his family, is causing, you know, their legs to go numb, eyes to get bloody? Like, did that bother you?
It sort of bothered me at times, but at a certain point you sort of accept that no explanation is coming, and then maybe at that point is when you're allowed to like focus on what the movie is really trying to do and show you the conflict between people and the family. Because I feel like if they're trying to add in these explanations of how any of it's happening, like the movie just feels sort of like watered down and like muddy. It's not trying to give you this whole piece. It's just like one refined point that it's trying to like, you know, show you.
I definitely agree. There are a lot of different types of viewers. Some people are really attached to realism or logic or plot holes, but in this film, its goal was clear. They wanted to present a really difficult moral question,
scenario.
A very difficult scenario, and that was the whole point, and I think they did that very well. In the very last scene, they're all sitting in a diner, the daughter, the mother, the father, and then the boy that's been torturing them is just on a counter a couple feet away. The family walks out, the daughter turns to look at them, and it's just a very slow motion scene of them walking away. What do you think is the significance of this scene?
You know, I'm like still thinking about it, and I'm not quite sure. My guess would be maybe helplessness or inevitability. The family just felt helpless, you know, in the face of this like impossible sort of situation. It's almost like they're so spent from what actually happened that they just want to forget about it, and they want to move on, and they don't want to face what might have caused it or the person who caused it. I thought there was one pretty cool, like in the end, the daughter's eating her fries. She picks up a bottle of ketchup and just squirts out a ton of ketchup onto the fries and just eats them. You know, it seemed to symbolize some sort of like maybe sacrifice. You know, that she's able to do this because they sacrificed the son. You know, she's able to eat and walk because they sacrificed the son.
Yeah, she's able to indulge in life,
right?
In all this ketchup. Ketchup represents you've done good at life.
Well, maybe the ketchup represents like blood or something being spilled.
Yeah. It's the the red stuff. It can always represent blood.
But yeah, I'm not quite sure why they had the antagonist kind of meet the family, and then the family like almost not even react and just sort of leave. What do you think?
No, I think you're right on point. It's just like a place for us to finally take a breath, and that they're at peace and they're not confronting each other anymore. It is an end to the conflict. Of course, the family is going to have a lot of other stuff they have to deal with. They have to deal with what they've done. I think it's as much for us as the audience as it is for the characters on screen. It's just to tell us that it's over. For now, at least. Yeah, that's all I got. So on a scale of A, B, C, D, or E, and you can do pluses and minuses, what would you give this movie grade-wise?
Probably something like a B plus.
B plus?
If not A minus. Something in that territory. I feel like it does what it does well, really, really well. You're left with a lot of questions. There are points in the movie where I felt like sometimes it was a little too unrealistic. It asked you to suspend a little too much belief. Once I accepted to suspend my belief for a second and take the movie in the world that it's coming from, I thought it was beautifully done. I thought the soundtrack was great. I thought the characters were beautifully and well acted. Other than the complaint of feeling like I had to suspend my belief a little too much, I feel like it did everything else really, really great. Yeah, what do you think?
I was gonna give it an A minus, but I do think it asks a little much at times, but it does exactly what it does phenomenally well. If there's something between a B plus and A minus, I would give it that, so a B plus plus or an A minus minus. That's all we have. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.